back in Florida today, Sarasota to be exact. Kelli Eggen's joining the podcast. Kelli, welcome to the Epic Agents podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. And also thank you for your patience with me as I, uh, went back and forth a little bit and you found it probably a little difficult to schedule with me. So apologies for that.
Nope, no
Uh,
problem.
But we got it worked out. I really appreciate you taking the time to join the podcast. Sarasota is a market that I really adore. I haven't been there in such a long time, but I'm a fan of coastal communities, especially in the Southeast. Obviously, I'm in the Southeast too, so I've been looking forward to kind of um, chatting with you a little bit about the Sarasota market, but also your journey in real estate as well. So why don't we start out with that? A little bit about the inspiration and how you got started in real estate. Was this your first career?
No, I'm from Michigan originally. I graduated from Western Michigan, so from Kalamazoo. Behavioral psych and English major, so nothing to do really with real estate, but kind of. Then I moved to Chicago, so I got a job just in sales. I worked for JP Morgan, investment banking, licensed banker, kind of high sales, high stress, and did that. And then I met someone, had no idea I was going to end up in Florida, but that's how I made it here. So I had a few different sales jobs there, software, banking, and more learning about the importance of relationship building through those corporate jobs. So I think that sort of built my knowledge base, throughout my 20s, in how real estate actually uses a lot of those same techniques.
Yeah, I think that's really worth. That's a great point that you bring up. Relationships, the importance of relationships, and the fact that real estate is a relationship business is something that's echoed a lot on this podcast by successful agents like yourself. And I definitely, I had a bit of a sales and marketing background before I got into real estate as well for a long time. And I think it definitely helped me. And I think that I think that agents who come into the industry without a little bit of that experience are definitely at a disadvantage, for sure. But
Yeah.
your career as in various industries and sales roles really helped prepare you as far as knowing the path to the sale and how to
hmm
develop those relationships and the importance of relationships.
Yeah, they drilled that into us at Chase, as you can imagine. So
Oh yeah.
everything was all about building the relationship, which I loved. I wasn't in love with the job, but I would meet clients to get, their checkbooks to them if they were business owners or whatnot. So I kind of learned the importance of it early on. Then coming here, I came here with someone as it was more of a family investment property group that they had built. So I wasn't really happy to move here in the beginning, but it was real estate related. So we went in as investors and we did it, hit the ground running from like going to the courthouse, getting names, calling them, going and looking at the properties and then purchasing them with cash. So I had a little bit of a different experience coming into it. We went through the Fortune Builders Mastery Program, which is like setting you up for investment success, how to be a great investor. So I feel privileged to have started with that. Then we broke up like a year into the move down here. So I kind of found myself trying to get any job I could to make the same money I was making in Chicago, which was nearly impossible. So I started managing a bar out on Siesta Key. And at the same time, I got my real estate license. And I hustled. I think I had 2 or 3 different jobs, working my way up to figuring out how to make it here on my own. So I think real estate was really the best thing that ever happened to me. It just took me a minute to figure it out.
Yeah, that there's a lot to unpack there. There's some points that I think are really worth diving into a little bit deeper, but I can personally relate to the struggle early on in a real estate career and how difficult it is to, I just had this conversation with another agent whose podcast episode is going to be released this week. I was just editing it today and it reminded me, she had talked about how, or we had kind of talked about how typically a new agent realistic expectation could be your first transaction, your first paycheck could be 6 months to 18 months into your
Yeah.
career. I think 6 to 12 months is a realistic expectation outside of friends and family and,
Mhm.
Uncle Bob and, getting those referrals or deals. But so, yeah, I can relate to that as well, and I think a lot of agents who are successful now in their career can look back on their early in their career and be reminded of how difficult that is in the beginning.
Mhm. I don't
Yeah,
think people realize that part. I just knew where I was, and it was important for me to bring up that because I knew what it was like to be, I guess, out of control of my finances. Working
mhm,
for someone else's family was difficult because I lost all of my independence. And I didn't have a lot. So I kind of like when it happened, it was devastating. So building myself back up and building that real estate has given me, I mean, I think the first year I was managing a bar full time. So obviously that was number one. But that was also so important for a stepping stone for how I got to where I am. Because had I not been there, I wouldn't have met. I mean, this place is transient. There's Midwesterners all over. It's the busiest bar on the Key. So being there every night and being in the middle of all of that gave me the opportunity to pass out my cards um, and build relationships easily with people that were trying to have fun on vacation. um, but I think I sold one house my first year. So I've had my license 10 years now, but I've only really been selling for 5. I sold one house the first year to someone from my hometown, actually, her mother. Um, and then 2 the next year, and then maybe 3. So it took 5 years to actually put my back against the wall, quit my job, and say, after the bar, I had gone to 2 different rental management positions on Siesta. So I learned the condo world. I learned what 2-week minimum, 1-week minimum, pet policy. I learned all the insides of how to sell the condos on the Key, which was also very helpful because it gave me enough sales to one day, I think it was about this time 5 years ago, I said, all right, I need to do this full time. But I was so afraid of letting go of the paycheck and the comfort of knowing that I had something to fall back on. Because obviously I was afraid of failure. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to not have enough money to support myself. And I really didn't. And then it just happened. I would just quit and I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And then January 1st came around and it was almost like a blessing. It was just like that was my best year ever. 2021. I mean, I think it was probably a lot of people's best year, but it just so happened to fall into place for me where I think I sold 16 million that year. And when you don't have a lot of practice writing contracts and doing it every day, I did 2 or 3 sales a year. It's not enough to be routine. And
mhm.
then when that happened, it was like, okay, it's like bread and butter now. And now I'm learning every deal is different, but what stays the same is like the values and the relationships and the way that I approach people as more of like a long-term, lifelong relationship. And I think that has helped me a lot.
I love that you kind of underscored um, those things that have stayed constant, like values and relationships and the importance of relationships. And it's always interesting to me how these conversations always kind of come full circle and always kind of, we always repeat these same concepts that are so key and core to the success of a real estate agent. Your experience in rental management and prior to that in investment, by and in working in investment transactions must have been a great looking back, does that feel like that was a great experience, some great building blocks for your career and for you to, I mean, honestly, at this point, residential real estate's probably kind of a cakewalk compared to some of the work that you had to do before, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love that I can talk about things that have to do with numbers, and a lot of my client base, I would say 80% of them were investors up until
Mhm.
the last year or so, where, the market hasn't really been that great for those numbers to make sense for people, but at least being able to have the conversation with people, especially experienced investors who may have 70 or more properties. learning the different products that are available to people like that, and then ones that are just starting out, and then people like myself that I bought my first investment property and a few years ago, and how proud I was to have that, like your very first one. So teaching younger people too, like what to do with 10 grand or what to do with 20 grand. And those are the types of posts I've been doing lately because we are in a market where it's a little more affordable here. And if you're young and you want to start building wealth, that's the best way to do it. And I think the experience I had before from banking, it was different, but it also kind of gave me a little foundation.
There's some overlap there for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would imagine. I think I'm already brainstorming future podcast conversations that we can have, and the topic of investing, the process of purchasing investment properties. And congratulations, by the way,
Oh.
what an amazing accomplishment and what an amazing feeling that must have been when you purchased your first investment property.
Thanks. It was. I had a whole name picked out for my LLC and everything, and it's funny to go from being someone that, I never even thought I'd have my own house, and then to have another investment property for just like an average person who comes from maybe somewhere where we didn't really have money growing up. It's a good feeling. And then
Yeah,
to see it, like sometimes I'll get letters in the mail that say Dreamweaver Capital Investments, and I'm like, oh, I made that. I
I
forget
love that.
sometimes to go back and appreciate that because it did pave the way for me to have those things. And I don't think I could have ever gotten to where I'm at without that. And the relationship is really, I guess, I have people calling me back, and people, even today, I got a text from someone who found me on Facebook, and she's like, she called me to tell me about listing her place and some personal things that happened in her life over the weekend. And she was just like, I've always known I would work with you because I see your posts and I just see how your heart is through your posts. And I don't know if there's like a better compliment for me than that because I feel seen,
Hmm.
and it's doing a service for someone else, but it's rewarding in that way. And, I feel like over the 10 years, the last 5, I did go through coaching. So I hired a business coach from a very reputable realtor in town. Her coach, I used him for a couple years. And then I hired a life coach more on the personal development side, fine tuning my communication skills, learning how to ask better questions, deepening the relationships. And I found that more deepening the relationship with myself allowed me to deepen the relationship with my clients and sort of pivoted me into a different bracket of sales by being able to have conversations that are difficult, and I like to avoid difficulties. So it's a hard part of the job when, your listings aren't going the way you want them to, or, having those constant check-ins and reassuring, and it's half the battle, I think.
Yeah, crisis management, right?
Yeah.
Conflict management, and
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it's anyone can be a rock star in vertical markets. When the real estate market is going nuts, but it's being successful, I think, in average normal markets is it requires a very holistic, well-rounded approach. And it sounds like you're really kind of attacking your business plan from different angles and really have adopted this like well-rounded, holistic approach to how you transact real estate.
I'd like to think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you have to be, though. I think, I'm not quite fully on the AI yet, Chat GPT, but I'm getting into it. But I feel like you have to be dynamic and fluid and able to adjust to the changes, or you get left behind. And I don't know. For me, I think that I just wanted to deepen the relationship and ask better questions and be, just keep growing. And that was the only way that I knew how. And I knew there were some issues that I had with even my own personal communication. So I was like, well, and it helped so much. I did that for 3 years straight. So it was a long-term investment into myself.
Very intensive, it sounds like.
Yeah.
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 I learned a long time ago in one of my early commission sales roles that how important it is to ask great questions and how important it is also to be a great listener. and to
Mhm.
actively listen, and I learned a very, how difficult that is to actively
Mhm.
listen and,
Yeah.
listen to understand. And that's something I still struggle with. I think it's something most people do, but I
Mhm.
think that, this idea of having to be able to speak uh, so eloquently and be able to say the right things is not necessarily the key to sales success. And most of
Right.
the best agents and most successful agents that I know are very patient people who are great listeners and have a lot of empathy and really just and it comes from their heart. You can always tell. It's
Mhm.
like a very very authentic. Your social media is excellent. Your posts are great. That's how we connected. In fact, I think Instagram,
Oh,
and
thank you.
you do a killer job on with your social media marketing. And I agree with your client or your prospect who said that you really do get a sense that you're very authentic in your marketing, and that the information you're sharing is coming from your heart. So really well done there.
Thank you.
Is that your favorite marketing channel right now? Is that your best source
Instagram?
of, yeah,
Yeah, I
Instagram?
don't really have TikTok. I should. My broker, she's emphasized to do a video every day of myself. And so I've been with Coldwell Banker now 3 years. And the first year I did it, I tried. I tried to do one every day. And then last year I went through, like, I don't know if it was a midlife crisis or what, but I just didn't want to post about like selfies and stuff. I said I was going to go a year without it and see how my business did, because there were so many people like, "Hey, here I am today." And that's great. It's definitely important, and people
Sure.
definitely want to see your face. I know that. But I just went through this thing where I was like, I'm not going to do it. And I do think it may have hindered a little bit of some of like people wanting to interact with you, see what you're doing. But then I hired the marketing girl that's currently doing those posts, so it sort of balanced out me not necessarily wanting to post videos every day. So that's on my 2026 to-do list, is to try to do more just the casual interactions that I've gotten away from.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do think Instagram is more powerful. I've found buyers from Virginia that have flown in, and I've met them through there. Just on some
Hmm.
of the lots I've sold, some of the higher ticket listings I've had, somehow have gotten exposure, and so that's good, at least. Um, I don't know if I've closed deals per se from Instagram, but I do know that the impact locally, people have responded positively to it. So that's good, because I'm such an overthinker and it would take me 3 hours to do a post. So I found this
Yeah.
awesome company that does it for me and takes all of the me having to talk about myself out of it.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. The
Yeah.
overthinking part, I think that that's a big challenge that a lot of us have when it comes to marketing our personal brand, especially real estate
Hmm.
agents. Comes more naturally, I think, to some than it does others,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's definitely something that I overthink a lot and have it's been a challenge to overcome. But yeah, I mean, at some point you just have to hit record and then post it.
Hmm.
And so now, what is your greatest source, would you say, of new leads? Is it mostly repeat and referral business? Does the strength of your brokerage, your brand, also play a role in that as well?
I haven't gotten anything from the brokerage directly. I would say most 99% is referral. I'm
Yeah.
grateful that word of mouth has been the best. And then, back to the relationship, I was always on the key, meeting clients, having dinner. I love just the connecting part of the job. So, going out for drinks or going out to dinner or meeting someone for yoga or whatever that is for that person. I've done so many things, and that's how I found my friendship base too, is from past clients. Mostly I've connected through whatever our hobbies or interests are. I'm a big art person, nature, so whatever people want to do that with me, usually I'll do that. And then I end up finding business that way too, which it's just more natural, I think, and that makes it easier. This year, a little tweaking. It wasn't easy. getting those. There weren't a lot of people here that were actively looking to relocate. Our prices were all over the place. The hurricanes hurt us a lot last year, so
Yeah.
I wasn't getting those referrals as much as I used to be. So I had quite a few repeats this year, but I think what did I do? 11 or 12 deals. I'm just over 10 million, which I didn't even know. I thought it was much worse year. But yeah, I had to pick up the phones, and I have a girl. Her name's Dakota. She works on my team now, and she just turned 20. So it's been great for me because the summer months are harder here. Rainy season anyway. Most people aren't traveling here. So we started doing call blocks. So I had to start cold calling, which puts me back out of my comfort zone back in Chicago days where I said I wouldn't do. But, having the ability to adjust. And once again, the conversations flow naturally. They weren't as scary as I thought they would be. And I did pick up maybe 3 listings that way from people trying to get out of their places on Siesta from what they had been through with the hurricanes, which was really devastating. So,
Yeah, I know. I've had that conversation with a few folks there on the western part of Florida. Through this podcast, we've talked a lot about the how difficult the fall of 2024 was for the
mhm.
region and what it's done to the real estate market there. You've had an extremely strong year, all things considered, for sure. You should be very proud of that. Cold calling, yeah, talk about stepping out of your comfort zone.
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know too many agents that are comfortable with cold calling. Most of us would rather do anything
Yeah,
other than
exactly.
cold call. What
Yeah.
was your strategy there? Were you talking to expired listings, FSBOs? What was the strategy there?
No, I have a buyer, and he's also was my broker for many years before. He's been a huge influence and mentor for me. But now that the market has shifted, he's looking at opportunities. So it gave me a reason to call.
Hmm.
So I used that for everyone I called pretty much. All of them were condos that had been affected by the hurricane. So everything was on Siesta that I did cold call with, just a intro call that I might have someone interested. I spent a lot of time driving out there and going to the individual communities that had been most devastated. Um, he was looking for something that was 3-day minimum, so something that could potentially turn over a lot of ROI once it picks back up again.
Hmm.
And then there were some that were renovated, some that weren't. So some that weren't was even better because we could get them at a lower price. And then, turned around. I've been calling them now for 6 months. So now some of those people have finished their renovation. Now they're ready to list. The market is still slow here for condos. So we're in no hurry. So those aren't active listings that I have yet. But they're at least building my pipeline back up with and thankfully things are turning around now here. So we're seeing a lot more activity. I've got 3 off the key too that are coming up this month, um, which was pretty much a dead zone for me anyway, this whole year for new listings. And I wasn't really marketing myself to pick any new ones up because I was struggling so much to sell the ones I had, doing everything short of like getting those signs and flipping them around in the front
Yeah,
yard.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think having her was great because she's just starting out. So it gave me a reason to be a little bit sharper on those cold calls and my scripts, and teaching someone was what got me out of the funk of having to do it. So I
Hmm.
think I used that as motivation and also helped her a lot too. So yeah, it worked. And I'll
I
try to
love
keep
that.
doing it maybe once a month or so if I can.
Yeah, just to stay sharp,
Yeah,
yeah, so you don't get out of practice.
right. Yeah.
Stay comfortable with it, I guess.
Mhm.
Having a reason to call, that was a really good point that you made. I think that's like the biggest problem with cold calling, and one of the biggest reasons why it's so scary is that we don't know what we have to offer when we call, right? We don't have
Right.
something, a reason to call that might benefit the person on the other end.
Yeah.
So I think that's really worth underscoring as well, how important that is before you reach out. I think that goes for a lot of things. It goes with networking and building
Mhm.
relationships with referral partners. I've always said before you reach out to a referral partner who has something that can benefit you, you need to think about what you have that what you have to offer them that's going to benefit them and lead with that, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
What about networking for you in your business? How important has that been, and how important do you think networking is to the success of a real estate agent in general?
Well, I think it's really important. With my business coach, he helped me a lot in the beginning because it's hard to get focused on what you should do depending on your personality type. So for me, I was grateful that I have that relationship, that instant, natural sort of ability to connect with people. It's always been there. So I didn't, you know, other people may be better at the phones or connecting out in public, more type A. Um, I tried a lot of things. I tried to get on like the Realtor Association Young Professional Network and do the meetings. And I tried to go out to the events with realtor hosted broker tours and things. And I didn't find for me that they were turning into much as far as
Mhm.
business. And I found that I'm actually kind of antisocial when I go to those events if I'm not like drinking or something. And
Yeah,
so we talked about it and he's like, if you're worth this much per hour, so we took my salary and divided it up. And I figured out, okay, if I'm worth say $200 an hour, where do I put my time networking? Do I put it into these events or do I put it back into my current clients? So I started going back to my sphere of influence, my current clients. The investors are always buying. So it's just where they're going to buy and what opportunities you're putting in front of them. So having breakfast with one, riding a bike with one, finding a way to connect with them in a way that, to me, those worked for me. So that networking, yeah, I think it's everything, but it's what type of networking works for you. And for me, that's what's worked for me. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I agree. I think it's important. I think networking's super important, but there are different types and different ways of networking, and you kind of have to, customize it for A, what fits your business, but also B, what fits your personality, what suits your
yeah.
personality as well, right? And
And that
I,
changes.
yeah,
I've changed. I've changed a lot, just over a year. So I've had to change that. Like, do I go out anymore? Not really. So now that I don't go out as much, where can I still see face-to-face clients? And so I try to do it instead of a night setting where I'm going out, I'm doing it in a day setting or going to walk the bridge or riding a bike or doing something that is healthier, I guess, for me.
mhm,
So
I get it.
I had a hard time with that. I mean, that was a huge, it's like, okay, I'm always out. I need time to myself. I need to figure out a balance that I'm not always out doing things I don't really, necessarily care about. And
Sure.
as I get older, those things changed. So I'm still trying to figure it out. But for me, that's how it's shifted.
Yeah, tell me about it. I never go. I used to be a night owl, and I don't know, somewhere around. Um, I turned 51 this year, so it's totally different ball game now. I can't remember the last time I actually went out to a bar at night,
Yeah.
and I've really gotten used to. I've really embraced coffee meetings
Uh-huh.
and lunch meetings, and yeah,
Yeah.
and then I'm usually done. I'm usually checked out mentally, at least publicly, around 6 p.m. But I'm usually on the
Yeah.
laptop, like everybody else,
Yeah.
until late at night. But yeah, I no, that makes total sense. I love that. And then just pouring back into your sphere and your friendship network, your professional network, your previous clients. Yeah, that makes total sense. What about advice for new agents? Anyone who saw the boom and bustle of
Oh,
the
right.
last several years and thought, "Oh, I can do that." Uh,
Yeah.
what uh, what advice would you have for those who are kind of early in their journey and they're they're kind of experiencing a new reality over the last year
Hmm.
or two?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Well, I think they have some advantages that I don't. So there's definitely like the social media aspect that they, video walkthroughs, and there's so many like people that have made it become famous from some of the hilarious real estate posts that they do. Um, but I think for me, I come from a place like from the Midwest. I've always been a very disciplined person and I've always worked, I've always hustled. So that I think is like a foundation that you have to have in a way. If your back is up against a wall and you don't have anywhere else to get money, like I'm very independent, so everything I've done for myself. And I think that created the real estate success for the discipline. So I think that's one thing I had to start taking myself more seriously with as I got more successful, um, is making sure my phone was number one. And during the day, obviously, but then having boundaries, learning those, and then staying fluid with the changes of the market. I think, one thing she's going through right now is the buyer representation agreement. When do you present it? How do you get screwed out of working with someone that you thought you had to deal with? Those painful things that we've all been through.
Hmm.
Just now the laws have changed. And I guess that discipline, staying consistent, and no matter what it is, if it's, every single day you're doing something, whether it's a social media post, making a cold call, meeting someone for dinner or lunch, whatever it is, I think those things feed back into your pipeline. And then not giving up. I mean, shoot, I wanted to give up a couple times this year.
No doubt.
It gets every
Yeah.
year, but
Yeah.
um, knowing that it's going to get better and believing in yourself, that was why I say real estate's been the best thing that's ever happened, because you're not hiding behind anything. There's nothing but you. You
Yeah.
obviously you're selling a home, but you really are selling yourself. And that value add was what I was going to say. My broker's been big on that lately. Like, what are you offering? You have to have something unique that you're offering, or why wouldn't they work with the other 8,000 agents in Sarasota? So it's like, okay, yeah, what is my value add? What do I bring? And, like you had mentioned earlier, this holistic approach where it's a long lasting relationship. You can offer, rental management services. You can offer this, like, take a pick of your vendor list, and it's a lifelong relationship. And, you're getting me, but what does that mean? So I think fine tuning those things and knowing what you bring to the table and why you can fight for your commission, instead of people just going directly to the listing agent. And now they're doing that all the time. So there has to be a benefit to why we're important. And so that's kind of one thing I'm trying to help teach myself and her while we're growing through this in our different phases.
I agree. That unique value proposition, everyone has one. Everyone has something that makes them different from everyone else, and kind of leaning into that and discovering what it is and what you bring to the table that differentiates you from the other 8,000 or
Mhm.
20,000,
Yeah.
agents that are in your market. I think that's really, really important. So that's a great point. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you.
And cold calling, yeah, and sticking to your systems, right? Every
Yeah.
day, being consistent. I think being consistent was the other point that I really think that kind of stands out to me that you made, and being consistent in your daily, income generating activities.
It's
Um,
easy to get off
yeah,
track because it's not like we have a set list of things we have to do. So
right.
it's kind of like
Yeah,
us against us every day. So
yeah.
how you start the day, I've noticed that too. Like if I don't start the day right and have my routine down, which is my personal routine, it has nothing to do with work. But if that doesn't happen for me, my whole day is not like the structure part. I need it to be free because we obviously have to be flexible, but I
Mhm.
also have to have things in place or else my days aren't as successful. And to me, successful could mean getting out and working out as long as I do that, or eating breakfast or whatever it is. I've noticed that makes a huge difference in my work, um, how structured I am through my day. So
I agree. Great points. So do you still go to the bar out on Siesta Key at all?
once in a great while, yeah, you
Yeah.
might see me out there. Actually, I was out there, what was it, Halloween maybe? And someone's like, "Oh, how's North Carolina?" And I was like, "Oh, man, I'm still here, actually." But then again, it's the bar, so they might have just forgot. I don't
Sure,
know.
sure.
But, no, I do when I can, but I try not to as much.
Siesta
Um,
Key's a beautiful spot. It's a
yeah,
fun spot, and the beaches there are so gorgeous from what I remember. Again, it's been a long time, but really special place.
gotta come
Kelly,
back.
I know. I can't wait. I need to come. I need to visit sometime. Kelly, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and working with me to coordinate this and join the podcast. Really appreciate it. Before I let you go, for listeners who might be agents in other markets that are looking for a referral partner in the Sarasota area, how can they learn more about you and connect?
Thank you. Kelli Egan Realty is my Instagram page, and then Facebook is Kelli Egan Realtor. But I've got a website, I've got a YouTube channel, and that's Instagram, or you can email me or call me. I would love to work with any referral agents. Thank you.
Perfect. I'll have all that information in the description for this episode, of course. And obviously Kelly will be tagging you on Instagram and Facebook when I release this episode. So
Awesome. Thank you,
really
Jeff.
appreciate it. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah, you
Kelly.
too.
Really appreciate it. And let's do it again soon.
Sounds good. All right.